Guys, welcome back to my channel. I am absolutely in love with this eye makeup. I use the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions palette, which is an absolute favourite of mine at the moment. I have done another tutorial using this palette and I will link it on the top of the screen for you now. I've used a full coverage foundation for this look, but as you can see the overall finish is still very wearable, natural, not over the top. This is it in daylight next to the window using my mobile. So the foundation I'm using today is the NARS Natural Radiant Long Wear Foundation. This is medium to full coverage. I think it's quite full coverage and I like to apply a very light amount using my fingers to distribute it over the face so that we still get a nice amount of coverage over the skin, but it's not too heavy. And I always like to work it in with a damp beauty blender. Make sure you have a nice hydrated base. It's quite a thick consistency. It's still a liquid foundation, but if you put it on the back of your hand, it's not going to drip. So you'll definitely want to put something on your skin that's really hydrating. If you are drier, you might want to apply an oil or a serum underneath. As you can see, even though it says it's a natural radiant finish, it is still kind of erring on the matte side. And if you're oily, you will love this because after a little while, your oils will start to come through and you will get that natural radiant finish to your skin. It's not super matte, but it's definitely more matte than I kind of use on a daily basis. I'm still using the number 7 Restore and Renew Serum Foundation on the regular. I'm going to use my favourite concealer. This is great if you have fine lines and wrinkles or you've got textured skin. The formulation is so different to a regular concealer. It's the Trilly London Serum Concealer, so it has a really nice texture. This is the palette of the moment. I know this has been out a while, but I'm really loving it. I feel like it's not too dark, it's not too heavy, and it has such a mix of mediums. You've got creamy mattes, you've got metallic satin, and you've also got 2 creams. My eyes are a little bit dry because I managed to get a little bit of the Tret that I've been using on my skin on my eyelids, so they've aged about 5 years overnight. But that side, they will look nice by the time I've finished. So I'm going in with the transition shade, which is a very light matte brown. And I'm using my Refa number 27 fluffy blending brush to work this throughout the socket, blending it up towards the eyebrow bone and also underneath those lower eyelashes to frame the eye. This is the colour that you'll take the highest and also the lowest underneath your lower eyelash line. The colours that we then use after this will stay within the boundaries of that eyeshadow. So the next colour we're going into is the darkest powder brown. This is a warm tone dark brown. It's also a matte finish and I'm using a giant flat shader brush from Zoeva, which I don't think they even make anymore, which is a shame because it's fantastic. And I'm using this to press this onto the mobile lid up to where the eye naturally creases, which is the socket. And I'm concentrating this on the outer third and the inner third, connecting it through the socket but leaving a little negative space on the centre of the lid close to the root of the eyelashes because we're going to be applying a different colour in this area. I'm using my fluffy blending brush to buff the seam of this eyeshadow into the transitional shade that we've already applied so that there's a nice graduation between those 2 shades. On the centre of the lid, I'm taking a white concealer. This one is by Revolution, but you can use any product. You can even use NYX Jumbo Pencil in the shade Milk. Apply this and then use your finger to pat it on. Don't blend it out too far because you really want to keep it to the centre, but by using a tapping motion, you'll create a soft blend between the concealer and the eyeshadow. The reason we're applying a white shade is so that the next colour that goes on will be almost as true to the colour that it is in the pan when it's on the skin. If we apply the metallic directly over the brown, it won't be as bright, so it really helps to have a white product underneath. It won't work if you just apply a white eyeshadow. It definitely needs to be some sort of either a concealer that's really fair, a white concealer, a white primer, such as the White Paint Pot by MAC. And having something that's kind of creamy means the metallic's going to stick to it, so it will be brighter and it will stay in place. Next I'm going in with the shade Legendary. This is a light copper, sparkly finish. Over the white, you'll see that it almost has a peachy vibe to it. It's so stunning. I didn't think I was going to love this colour as much as I do, but I would reach for this over and over again. Now it's definitely best to apply this with your ring finger and use a patting motion to put it on. It will stick down onto that concealer that you've put down as your base or your pencil or whatever it is that you've used. Then use what's left on your fingers to tap around the centre and that way you'll get a nice blend into the brown either side. Just remember not to take it too far. I'm going to apply a brown kohl pencil along the waterline. It's completely optional, you don't have to do it. At the moment, one of my favourites to use is the Huda Beauty Creamy Kohl. It is a new launch from her and it's really, really good. She does it in very brown and then very Vanta, which is extreme black. And these are fantastic. If you saw my short on these, you'll see how waterproof these are. If you missed it, I will link it on screen for you now. Go check it out because you'll see these are phenomenal. So as you can see, I've taken that along my lower waterline and then I'm blinking onto it to coat my top waterline. As you know, I've recently been using the L'Oreal Telescopic Lift, which is their new mascara. As I've said before, really enjoying it. I'm still going to use it until it runs out. So far, it's lasting really, really well. It's as wet as it was when it first arrived, so it's not drying out quickly. Still creates a lot of volume on your natural lashes. If you're a fan of a comb wand, then I'm sure you'll enjoy this one. Just be careful not to poke yourself in the eye with this. A lot of the comb wands on more expensive mascaras are more like a silicone, so they're not quite as stiff. The bristles sometimes have a bit more movement to them, but this one really doesn't. It is a bit more on the cheaper side, but it is an affordable mascara, so I'm not going to complain too much. I'm going to apply some false eyelashes. You don't have to. The ones I'm going to use today are by Lash Base, which you know are my favourite lash brand for strip lashes. These are the FP03. Don't forget to use my discount code if you want to get 10% off any of their strip lashes or their Pro Effect lashes. I like to use a wiggle motion to get the centre of the eyelash down on the root of my natural lash, and then I use tweezers or my fingers to tuck in either side. I have a tutorial from many years ago on how to do the wiggle motion, which I will link on screen for you, but I also have an eyelash hack if you really struggle with eyelash application. Now I've completed the eyes, I'm moving back onto the face and I'm going to warm up the circumference of my face using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Italian Summer Face Palette. I'm going to use the bronzer, but I'm also going to use the blush from this palette. I'm using my Zoeva 127 Luxe Sheer Cheek Brush to apply this around the hairline, but also to sculpt through the hollows of the cheeks. I always get a lot of compliments from you guys on my bronzer application because you always say it looks so soft. A little tip is to use your beauty blender to bounce over your bronzer. It will have remnants left of your foundation, so it will help with making everything look a little bit softer. You can do this on your cheeks as well, or you can go with a translucent powder and buff that over your bronzer. As long as you use a very light hand, you tap off all the excess product before you work it onto your skin, then you might not even need those tips. But they're handy to know in case you ever apply too much product or you've reached for a product that's too dark for your skin and you don't know what to do. I like this bronzer because as you can see it's not too warm, it's not too cool, it kind of sits in the middle, very neutral, lovely tone, and I think this palette comes in 3 shades. So the bronzer will be a little bit darker or a little bit fairer and the blush tone will either be a bit peachier or a bit pinkier. So you can decide based on your skin tone whether you are light, medium or deep. Here I'm applying some of the powder blush. I'm applying it on the apples of the cheeks and then just feathering that colour backwards. It's so beautiful and I love how soft it looks with the bronzer. Everything's really nice and cohesive. Again, you can bounce over with your beauty blender at the front of your face so that the colour doesn't come too far forward. The brush I'm using, which I've just dropped, is from Ciate London. It's the Ciate London and Hannah Martin collection. So it's a really nice little brush for blush application. I decided to go back to the eyeshadow palette and take the shade Divine, which is a light peach in a semi-matte finish, and pop this on the inner corner of the eyes using a small brush. This is the colour I used over my entire lid last time. It has the most beautiful subtle sparkle. It's so beautiful. I'm also going to pop a little bit of that on the brow bone for a subtle highlight. It's not going to be super reflective, so it won't give you that horrible 90s frosted finish. It's one of those eyeshadows that looks even more beautiful in the flesh. I know this palette's not exactly cheap, but it's one of those ones I would highly recommend you get. On my lips I wanted to keep it nice and simple, so I'm going for a gloss. This is from Lisa Eldridge. It's the Gloss Embrace lip gloss in the shade Songbird. Lisa describes the colour as a light beige putty pink. If you're a similar skin tone to me, it's almost like your own lip colour but enhanced. So it works well if you want something on your lips but you still want it to look relatively natural. This is a beautiful shade. So that completes today's beautiful makeup tutorial. I absolutely love this look. I felt like I needed to do something that was a bit more creative rather than some of the natural looks I've been creating recently. You guys always request much more wearable natural looks. Hopefully you'll love this one as much as I do. If you did, please give the tutorial a thumbs up. It really does help with the algorithm. Don't forget, all the products I've used will be listed and linked in the description bar with any discount codes, and I will see you on Monday with a short and Thursday with another upload. Bye guys!